All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sunny Brown. I think that we've gotten everybody in. Looks like it. Good to see everybody on this somewhat of a gloomy Wednesday in Oxford, but the sun will come out later today, hopefully. I wanted to just introduce myself. I'm an assistant director with the Alumni Association and tasked with working with the alumni of the School of Applied Sciences, which is such a treat because I am an alum of the School of Applied Sciences. With us today, we are very fortunate to have Dean Grangine. He oversees one of the fastest growing schools on campus. The School of Applied Sciences seeks to improve the lives and conditions of people and communities across Mississippi and the region, and also has quite the growing research imprint at the University of Mississippi, with more than $8.4 million in external funding received in the fiscal year 2018, and I know that has grown in recent years. Dean Grandjean is a nationally recognized professor and researcher and has more than 30 years of experience in education. I know most of y'all know him and definitely visited with us at our Applied Sciences Advisory Board meeting a couple weeks ago, but we are just so thankful for him and his dynamic and forward-thinking leadership with the School of Applied Sciences. So with that being said, I'm going to close out of this screen share, bring everybody in, and we'll just have a nice discussion for the next little bit. So thanks again.
Thank you, Sunny. First of all, let's share some really exciting news that I don't think anybody but two of us know right now, and that is Sunny is going to retain us. So she's going to be our representative with the Alumni Association, and I can't tell you, we're over the moon with that bit of news. Thank you, Sunny, for doing that. Just real quick, how did you pull that one off?
Shockingly, I just asked.
That was it, huh?
Yeah, pretty easy. Sent one email and said, I'm keeping them. I didn't really ask. I just said, and then it happened. So can't complain.
Well, you know, what makes it even more special is that over the last couple of months, we've been planning our advisory board meeting, and there was a lot of heavy lifting there. Elizabeth Tettleton's with us today, but there was a lot of heavy lifting between William Fisher, Elizabeth, Sunny, many of you that are here. And so she sent that email and said she wanted to keep us even after going through all of that. So we're deeply, deeply appreciative. And just, we're Sunny because Sunny's with us. That's awesome. So I'm just going to do this real quick. Yay. All right. And then today, listen, I see Jeff, there's Darlene, and then we everybody here really is a friendly face and a regular at these things. So I don't know that I need to go into very much detail with respect to some of the things that are going on in the school. We're certainly here to talk about that, and we've got department chairs. It looks like we've got 3 department chairs, and we've got our person, the person that really runs the entire dean's office here, Lolita Gregory. So we can talk about anything that you want to, but what I want to focus our efforts, I guess, up front on is how we can engage our alumni more than we have in the past to help advance the school, but more importantly, to help build an experience for our students that I know can be better. You know, it's very good right now, but I know it can be better. So that's kind of a broad question. I will tell you some of the things that we've been thinking about. First of all, we talked at our advisory board meeting about things called grand challenges. And those grand challenges are really real world problems that can't be solved from one discipline or from one perspective. The grand challenges that we talked about are designed so that we can focus the faculty's efforts towards answering a small part of those grand challenges and putting those pieces together. We can also engage our alumni, you all, and your passions. So we're not just telling you what's going on in the school, you're actually part of what's going on in the school. And then you can interact with our students too, to provide them with experiential learning. And we'll just say experiential learning, there's all kinds of ways to do that, but that you can provide opportunities. So I know that Darlene's been involved with that. I know Jeff, you and I, when we had our first conversation, you've talked about the opportunities you've given students. And so the grand challenges really are a centerpiece that we can rally around in order to do that. And the ones that we talked about, the advisory board meeting, the Center for Evidence-Based Policing and Reform. And Wes is our director of that center. He's our chair in the Department of Criminal Justice and Legal Studies. There's a lot of momentum in that regard. And my goodness, you would have had to have turned off all of your electronic devices and not been out in the woods somewhere to not know that that's just a super hot topic and something that's multifaceted, something that's discussed by all of us, that provides a lot of anxiety, angst. We all have opinions, but this center is going to be one of those that provides evidence to support the basis for how we move forward in a civilized society, to make sure that policing is just and fair, law and order is fair, and that the community can accept those law enforcement officers as viable members of the society, right? But also accept the fact that they're a necessary presence. So develop those relationships. That's one. Two is reviving our hospitality industry, and that we have all the ingredients to do that. If we set up a culinary arts and sciences program, we can build out the South Oxford Center into a 50,000 square foot kitchen that's modular. We can have a forward-facing restaurant that can serve breakfast and lunch, but also can be rearranged for cooking classes in the evening, if you will. We can partner with our high schools and partner with our community colleges to do workforce training in the food service industry. Event planning, if we can start working, and here's a job for Sunny. We're right off the bat. We're going to see how we might restructure our working arrangement with the Alumni Association and maybe run and operate that inn at Ole Miss from soup to nuts, from the administrative piece to, in the background, the laundry service, and how we can do that. And so it gives our students real world experience. But the bottom line is we have the facilities here, we have the people here in our departments. What we need is alumni engagement, right, and community engagement to make those things happen. We've talked about mental health and what a huge need it is across our state and region, really across our United States, and our public health social work programs are taking lead in that effort to provide mental health training down at the very family member level, right? So that those things can be recognized. Mental health issues can be recognized at a much lower level of acuity and either addressed there or referred much sooner before major problems take hold. So mental health is a big issue. So those are three. And then the last one that we really have a heart for and really need to stand up as soon as we possibly can is an after-school program for students with speech and language deficits or disorders. But it's not just an after-school program that just provides a service, right? It's also a place where young folks and families can go to get diagnosed with specific problems and provide a very individualized treatment program and interventions so that they can actually communicate and be productive member of society, but open up and be the whole person that that they're not sometimes if they can't communicate with the rest of the world. So those are our grand challenges, right? Those are the things that we're trying to put in front of you all. What I'd like to do is find out, not just how we engage there, but what are some ways we can funnel? What are some ways we can message? What are some ways we can start to engage our alumni? We have a strong alumni base. So how do we engage those folks into those activities? How do we communicate better with them about the things that are going on in the school and make them feel like they want to be part of us? I'll put the mic down right now and I'll open it up for your good ideas.
Before we get rolling on that discussion, Dean Grangine, there was a question in the chat that maybe you could address quickly, and then we can move to our alumni discussion. With the School of Applied Sciences having one of the greatest person-to-person contacts of students and faculty of all schools, how has the pandemic hurt your growth and expansion? So I guess how will the pandemic hinder us?
Yeah, good question, Mark, and sorry to interrupt you on that, Sonny. I think just about every program at our great university has been impacted because our job is really about people, right? Our job is really about helping young people realize their potential and helping them get where they want to go. Most of our programs are professional degree programs, professional training programs. So we're training them for specific lanes. And a lot of those programs rely heavily on what we call preceptor sites, internships, experiential learning. So to that extent, we've been able to keep our doors open, the classes going, the didactic kinds of things going, some of the discussions, and as we're doing today, some interactions, electronically, but that human touch, being in some of these clinical sites, being in police departments or law enforcement agencies, working in the food service industries, being a social worker and actually sitting down in a room and discussing with families, how to find solutions to some of those problems. Those have all been impacted. And so it's hurt that human touch. It definitely has. So from that point of view, it's impacted us negatively. From you're looking at many of the chairs that are with us right now, department chairs who have led the efforts. It's also been a great time for us to roll up our sleeves and prepare for post-pandemic. And to that measure, we have reimagined some of our programs. We've reimagined the course objectives or the degree program objectives. We've added online programming, realizing that it's not something that has to be an impediment. It's something that can expand our horizons and allow our students to live and work away from Oxford and still get the didactic portion, but work in preceptor sites that we didn't have a footprint in or even a knowledge base of before. So to that extent, it's really helped us, and I think we're in a great position to grow. Our chairs have already heard this, and many of the folks that are on this call have probably already heard this too, but we actually grew as in terms of students, student enrollment. If you look at our fall numbers, we didn't grow undergraduate wise. We actually contracted again undergraduate wise, but we grew with graduate students. So, and we were one of two academic units in the institution that actually grew last year. So we're hoping to build on that momentum because that didn't just happen by accident. It happened because of the great work of our faculty and our staff and and the programs that they stood up. Two of our chairs are here right now. Vishaka Raul single-handedly increased the CSD master's program to almost 100 students, 97 students, I believe it was at one point. And then Wes Jennings launched an online master's in criminal justice program that has a leadership track. You can imagine is highly attractive to law enforcement agencies and workers across the nation. And then Homeland Security track that is also very, very attractive to many individuals out there. So that also blew up. And where are we at? We're over 60 online learners now, aren't we, Wes? Or 60 in the master's program in total?
Yes, we're over 60 total, and we're looking to have potentially, the first graduating class of that, 1-year accelerated program this summer. But there's about 20 folks that are scheduled to take their final capstone project.
So we just started that in 1 year. Here we are, we're graduating people in that. And let me just tell you, when we say accelerated, it's not skimping on the quality at all. Wes is he's the #1 criminologist in the world. If you look at some of those rankings from the academic side of things, and the faculty that he has brought in are just stellar. I mean, they're already recognized as emerging scholars or emerging experts in their area. And these are brand new assistant professors who are working with big data and answering questions that have been needed to be answered for many, many years. So that's thanks to Wes. And I can say Min-Soo Kong in health, exercise science, and recreation management is doing essentially some of the same things and laying the track for many years to come. Vishaka Raul, real quick, if I can brag on Vishaka, so she came here with a year to go before we had a 10-year site visit for the accrediting body in communication sciences disorders. She single-handedly got her faculty and her staff on the same page, moved them from the George House, where their labs and their classrooms were stationed, to the South Oxford Center, got all the paperwork in order, and when the site visit team came, they didn't have one deficit. That's unheard of. And our program has catapulted 41 spots in the U.S. News and World Report because of her leadership. So Mark, just to answer your question, it has impacted us from a personal, human touch perspective. But we've got some folks that are working furiously to make sure that our programs are even better coming out of this pandemic. I think Elizabeth is asking, are there a good bit of external students or primarily criminal justice alumni? So Wes, you want to field that one?
Sure, we have a good mix. From the initial marketing last spring, we had targeted outreach, obviously, to alumni for sure, particularly those that are outside of, Oxford and outside of the state as well, being an online program, because before that, all we had was a traditional face-to-face program. And then we also had targeted outreach to, police agencies specifically. And so right now, I mean, it's a good mix. I mean, we have a number of individuals from the Dallas Police Department. Particularly, we have law enforcement from other states as well. We have detectives, we have crime scene investigators, we have sworn and unsworn individuals in that program, and then we also have some traditional alums that graduated from our bachelor's program last year that have opted to take the online version versus the face-to-face version because they're wanting to, go out into the workforce immediately, and to have that accessibility should they get a job after, pending background checks in a different jurisdiction or state. They don't have to unplug from the program, right? They can just take it with them and finish up. So it's a really good mix, and we're continuing those marketing efforts at a diverse body. It's designed obviously for accessibility, and it's designed for to outreach to practitioners and individuals that will not be able to physically come here for a program.
So if I can, let me open this up again to that question that we had, and that was, I know Our chairs have been part of our leadership council meetings, and we're talking about this environment, this general environment that all of our universities are really facing. If you're not an Ivy League school where I don't know if you've seen in the papers recently, if you're not an Ivy League school where they're only accepting 3 or less than 3% of the applicants and they get a healthy applicant pool, if you're not one of those Ivy League schools, then what we're facing is a real decrease in the traditional, students, the high school students that are graduating and going on to college for a number of reasons, not just the birth rate, and not just that drop off. So this is a competitive environment, and we know that students, prospective students, they don't want to hear from a dean. They may not even really want to hear from our department chairs. Sometimes faculty, and how us faculty, we can take a 5-minute topic and stretch it to 2 hours if we wanted to, right? They don't want to hear from us. What they want to know is, what can this job or what can this degree help me do? They want to know, is this the school for me? Is this the environment for me? So they want to hear from students, right? But they want to hear also from alumni. They want to hear the success stories. They want to see themselves on the other side of this educational process. So we need alumni to be a bigger part of what we're doing, but we want to make it value added for those alumni too that want to help doing it. So how do you do that? Do y'all have any ideas for engaging, more alumni? You all are here because you really love it and you're passionate about it, but how do we get more people involved?
Hey, Doc, I'll throw just a thought out there. In the respective schools we have under the School of Applied Sciences, excuse me, has there been any consideration to have some of our graduate students in those respective schools? Well, let me back up a second. Can we identify places of employment that our alumni are working? Let's say hospitality. Do we have any kind of a database that can match up, let's say, with Marriott, and students that are working for Marriott, and then have our graduate students reach out, maybe a 5 or 6 point questionnaire, reach out, touch, hey, how, from your experiences as you've gone through the ranks and working at Marriott Corporation or Hyatt, I'm sure there's some other 5-star hotels that are out there, what's been your experiences, and then what can you do to suggest to help make the program better, and how do we get our students from Ole Miss engaged into the Marriott or Hyatt programs? Just a thought.
Jeff, those are excellent thoughts, and those are things that we sorely need to do. What we've done now, the Alumni Association, Sonny, you have you can look and scan a database really quick, and you can look at our alumni group. And we can send a questionnaire out like that. It'd be great to stand up something like that and then retouch base or reconnect. I've seen in the past where we've had newsletters that have gone out, and those kinds of things are really healthy, but that's really just information exchange. So Jeff, what we need to do is take that information now, and how do we get somebody, let's say yourself, that can say, I'm working, I'm really busy, I'm successful, but I want to give back to the university in some way, shape, or form. So I'm willing to make myself, say, available when you guys are in the area to talk with students, or to be at this event where we can invite students to, prospective students to come, or families to come, and you can share your story. That's one of the things that we need to do. I love that idea.
The personal phone calls, I think, are important. It's a personal touch that Ole Miss is always traditionally known for, and we're providing. We want to have develop a platform. You never know where this kind of lead to, but the questionnaires are fine, but reaching out on a one-to-one basis, I think, gives maybe a little more incentive, a little more buy-in from the alumni?
Okay.
Just a thought.
No, that's really good. I can tell you a couple of things that we have done in terms of reaching out that somewhat along the lines of what you've asked for. Jeff, Sarah Sapp worked with Sunny, I believe, got the word out that we would love to connect our alumni with prospective students by having a postcard kind of campaign. And the reason why I say that's even related is because that's the personal touch. That's, somebody actually took the time to write, something to the prospective student and get it to them. So again, we're really trying. We've got grand challenges. We've got that personal touch. I wholeheartedly agree with you. We've got to get involved, but what are some other ways we can engage alumni that are outside of the traditional box that might be value added for them?
So just to touch on what Jeff was mentioning, and I don't know if a lot of y'all are aware, the Alumni Association has a mentor database. So if you are interested in giving of your time to university students in any sort of field, you can fill out our mentor questionnaire, and then your name gets marked in our database that you'll be a mentor. So if I have a student come into our office and say, I want to work for Marriott, and I can run a report and find alums that are working for Marriott and then automatically share your email address or your telephone number with them. And you can even check if you can offer an internship or, just can help with, like, you say you live in Dallas, like help with the area in Dallas. That's something we're really trying to get off the ground and have not had a lot of luck. But I will drop the link to that in the chat. And so if anybody wants to fill that out, we can continue to work with that, especially with the School of Applied Sciences, because I know that connection is so valuable coming out of our program. So I will drop that below. Wow,
that's amazing, Sunny. And yeah, didn't realize you had that already. And we need to build off of that. But let me flip it then too. So that's the alumni saying we want to give back. What can we do to be value added to the alumni, right? For doing something like that. That's something that we'd be interested in too, because I think it would help all of us.
I think it would be nice to hear from students in a non-fundraising kind of way of just, hearing from them and, what's going on in the university, what classes they're taking, who their professors are, and allow people to kind of go down memory lane with them and things like that. I think that then maybe could lead to a mentorship unknowingly, but just kind of in a, maybe reach out via email to an alum and set up a time to chat. Because I know sometimes when you get a random phone call at night or during the day, it's kind of, you don't answer, but maybe set up the time to chat, and then just hearing what they're up to and what's going on at the university and their classes and things like that, I think could open the door to a natural relationship.
Strom, that's a great idea. Do you think, when you said that, I had visions of so do you think if we had some kind of a website where maybe asynchronously some students put together a little presentation about why they came to Ole Miss, right? What makes Ole Miss special for them? What are some experiences that they, most enjoyed and where they're headed in their career? And that's just something that you, as an alumni, might visit in your own time. You go, oh my gosh, I could connect with that young person. And, there's a way to do that. I mean, is that something that's not your phone
that
call?
Would be neat. I think that really would be neat. And I think, get some students who are really interested. And I think it just kind of could continue to build on itself. And I think with the pandemic, people are used to signing on to like online platforms now. So it's not kind of out of the blue to have a Zoom meeting with some kids that are, have just finished up, and then with some alums. And just the further out that I get from school, it's, you know, what are the young people doing? And I actually work in a private high school. So, you know, from my end of like, I'm always trying to promote Ole Miss, but, you know, and having that kind of segment of going towards, you know, from all ends of getting people to come to Ole Miss and then engaging the alums, I think could be cool.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you for those thoughts. Yeah. Looks like we have some things in the chat. Vishaka, you had a question about a fitness day.
Yes. So I was wondering if we would, if alumni would be interested if we offered, like the school offered, a fitness day on campus where they could come. We could provide free hearing screenings, dietetics, nutrition advice, and other fitness that Dr. Khan's department could offer. Would they be interested? Would it provide some sort of connection?
I think that's a fabulous idea. And one thing that we've probably all forgotten about was we were in the throes of putting together this Mississippi Day 2020, I think it was. And it was an idea from our provost. He's from the state of Maryland, and the University of Maryland had this Maryland Day, you know, whatever. And so that was a place for everybody to come to campus. You'll recall we were planning for all of that, and then COVID hit. So I think that may be something that would have a lot of traction, Vishaka, particularly if it's not just communication sciences and disorders doing it, but, you know, come to campus and do the screenings from what you're doing, and then pharmacy can do their thing. And Wes, oh my gosh, I think he was going to have the mounted patrol here from Oxford, you know, and do some. What were you?
No, don't do that, because, you know, we are just watching the video where the poor woman's shoulder popped out. The crowd over 65 would start running away when they see the patrol car.
Yeah. But the bottom line was to have something for the university like that. I would imagine that's going to be revived here as soon as we can get back to in-person, you know, and full operations here at the university. Probably look for something like that to come soon. But I think that's a great idea and a way to engage with the whole entire state. Just come to the campus and learn more about our programs. And then it looks like we have a link, right? Is that from you, Sunny? Did you send us that link for where we engage?
I did, but then I also had another thought building off the Shaka's talk, or, you know, annual fitness day. What if, and this is a long shot, everyone's used to being virtual. What if we challenged like the School of Pharmacy or the School of Education alumni to some sort of fitness screening or something where you logged on, you've got points. This is a big ask, but doing something like that, and then we could connect our students because they could film short little videos that say, did you know that you should have your hearing screened, and this is the best way to do it, and this is what I'm learning at Ole Miss. Like something, you know, it needs some refining. This idea needs a lot of refining, but something like that to get them involved, and then get online and then compete, because we all like to win, and we would win, but, you know, something to that effect.
I love that idea.
I'm sorry.
No, I love that idea, and we need to. Yeah, well, it's a lot more refined than my ideas, and Lolita can attest to that, because, you know, she has to shut her door on me all the time. You know, it's like, get out of here, go think about it a little bit more, and then come back when you have a real idea. But what you've got is great. Let's do that. And I know when we got into challenges during Zoom, just to let you all know, our students and faculty competed with School of Education, with pharmacy, with accountancy, with all these other schools that in Kahoot. And I'll just tell you, if there were trophies involved, we wouldn't have a place to put all the trophies that we won. So we'll do it. Let's challenge pharmacy and nursing and some of those other programs. Mark, you asked about the grand challenges and if we have funding. Part of the reason for us establishing those grand challenges and rolling them out and introducing them just at the very beginning of April, that's when we had our meeting, is to galvanize our energy, focus our energy on these areas, right? And give us a better shot at funding for community engagement, funding for building a research infrastructure. It helps us focus the faculty lines, faculty research interests, but also it also helps us to build on the experiences and the passions of our alumni and interest the students. So we don't have funding other than the Center for Evidence-Based Policing and Reform. That particular center was stood up with $1 million gift that really started it all and has generated a lot of interest from other individuals. I'll tell you that we do have funding commitments for building the hospitality industry, but that's way too premature to talk about the sources of that and how much at this point. But I do know we have some recent developments where we're going to have significant funding in that area to build our South Oxford campus and our culinary sciences program. So yes, the whole idea is to have a focus for funding, but we're at the initial rollout stages. Mark, if you have any good ideas, we're all ears. Well, this is, to me, this has been fantastic. Minsu, got any words of wisdom for us? Your speaker's off, but I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Ah.
Sorry. Okay, well, I like the idea of Vishaka mentioning about some fitness day, that try to make some connections with the alumni kind of coming in homecoming days. We can have like golf outing, or we can actually make it as a walking, tour of all the buildings within our School of Applied Science. One, GHM building to, the South Oxford Center thing. I think that idea is great. And what I wanted to tell everyone is this is one of our department's strategic planning too, where we wanted to make some good connections with the alumni. Now, what is the best way to do that? Like creating survey, but we also can think about some other individual, like face-to-face way of making connections. So, it's more to come, but I really like the discussions and I have this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Strom, when you mentioned, and I kind of laughed, we all have that. Now, some of us came from other institutions too, and so we have other schools that are sending us emails and contacting us, and I get something almost in the mail daily, and it is about funding, right? Can you give to this or give to that? And that's great. We need those kinds of things. But really what I'm talking about is what you just mentioned, not funding. Is there a way to engage alumni, make them feel like, hey, we're reaching out to you, not to ask for money, but we're reaching out to you to just connect, just to stay in touch, just to say we appreciate you. That's, I think, what we're talking about here too. Lolita, any healthy ideas?
None to add to the robust conversation today, but I really like Strom's suggestion. I think, yeah, I really like that, and Vishaka's too. I don't want to leave Vishaka out.
Do you all, Jeff? Do you all think that now you've given talks? You've talked to me about when the track teams have come up and competed in Indianapolis or whatever. You you've gone and talked to those athletes, and some of those student athletes are part of programs that you've been part of. You've come down here, have you not, and engaged some of our students before as well, right?
Well, even with Coach Connie Price and Greg, who's the cross country coach, when they come up, obviously I try and meet with them. I've always communicated to them that, hey, I am part of the advisory board. If you have students that are trying to get maybe some ideas, or if I can help assist them in any way, I'm available. So I've done that from a coaching perspective. Prior to and I want to say maybe 3 years ago, there was a M Club initiative of mentoring student athletes. And one of the things I want to do is be able to come down and say, okay, in the world of criminal justice, either the public sector or private sectors, these are some things you can look at. And then we come along with the pandemic, that kind of shut some things down. Wasn't really, I didn't get things started from a PowerPoint perspective, but that was some of the things I wanted to do, using the track team and cross country team as a foundation, and then build it out to other sports related teams. So I want to use that as a beta test. But and then I don't know if you know Brian Maxey or Clay Calvert, but with Brian recently, we had there's a program. It's about interviewing for jobs. And I just, matter of fact, reached out to Brian a few weeks ago. Hey, when this happens, I can do this by Zoom if I'm not, coming downtown. So we better develop a interview process, what to expect, everything from whether you dress to, what civic activities have you contributed, because that's what people look for, especially in businesses or corporations. And so that's sort of like what I've done from my end, from my perspective.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you know Brian Maxey. No, his son plays on my son's baseball team. He's a really good guy. I'm just playing with you, but
he played baseball. He played baseball, and he's our M Club alumni representative. And Clay Calvert was his predecessor. So I've known Clay for years.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, he's quite a pitcher in the major league. So, but yeah, you're kind of swimming uphill and against the river, trying to get Brian to talk about, how do you look professional in a meeting. I was just joking.
I'm talking about students. How do we?
I mean, to get him to stand up and talk to. I'm just playing. Okay. No, he's an awesome guy. So I'm glad you're working with him too. Those are the kinds of things, though, that. Look, we're out there and we're recruiting students. We're working with students. We're working with alumni. We're ambassadors for the entire university. So, I get in front of some students and say, you know what, I'm interested in biology. It's like, hey, great. Let me connect you with so-and-so over here in biology. I'm helping you get where you want to go, even if it's not our program. So the fact that you're here on our advisory board, you're working with Brian, and he's working with, is it engineering?
He has accounting, business, and RMI.
There you go.
The insurance group, risk management insurance. Yeah,
so he's got several places. So, we're working all together. And really, I didn't know that. And so I'm really grateful to hear that. That's neat to know.
One little small thought, just kind of piggybacking off of what Sonny mentioned earlier about the mentorship that's offered through the Alumni Association. Sonny, would it be a way to possibly highlight alum from our school as they make these connections, just like so that across the school and across our student base, people, can put a face with kind of a name or a cause and just kind of thinking about what the dean was asking in regards to how do we make it value added for the alumni. I mean, that's, that's a small something, but, it gives exposure It lets people see what we're doing. And you never know what kind of connections, people can make just, from that. So, and we wouldn't, and I'm not talking about monthly but, just kind of, a couple of times throughout the year, maybe.
That's
Almost like an alumni bureau, right? I'm sorry, Wes, I didn't mean to, but it's almost like an alumni bureau, kind of our own mini LinkedIn kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Wes? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was actually, and that's in our strategic plan, in the sense of the idea, at least for the department wide, we would have an annual faculty spotlight, an annual, graduating student spotlight, and then an annual alumni spotlight. And we could then, host that on our website, right? That way it provides, exposure and connectivity. And then obviously you just keep building that, so that way you retain all of those that are on there, 2021, 2022. That way people can get traffic back to that website and see some longitudinal, evolution of our students and alumni too, but to increase those connections.
I love it. And then connecting that thought, Lolita oversees a leadership group for our high school students in the area, and that may be a great connecting point for them too, right? If we had a kind of a mini LinkedIn kind of approach, that could connect some of those students with our alumni.
Absolutely.
These are great ideas. See what you started, Strong? Well, we're just about at the end of time here, but that doesn't mean that we can't keep the good thoughts going. So if you have additional thoughts, you leave this Zoom meeting and something really hits home, please reach out. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to anybody really here, or Sunny, but we'll make sure we stay in communication so we can capitalize on these good ideas. I can tell you right now, I have a lot written down here and a lot to talk about with our leadership group and to continue the conversation with our alumni and advisory board, so that we can build a better School of Applied Sciences, and one that's more open, easy to access, and not always asking for money. Anybody have any final thoughts or? This has been wonderful. Thank you. Sunny, thank you for putting this together. We will work on a new series of upfront talks beginning in the fall, and look forward to seeing you all then. Until then, please feel free to reach out and get in contact with us anytime.
Thank y'all so much and have a great day. I will end the meeting and the recording. See y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you all. Bye-bye.